When you buy a high-end, multi-million-dollar piece of machinery, like a luxury sports car, for example,
Yeah.
you have a very specific expectation.
Right. Yeah, you absolutely do.
You expect to get in, you put your foot on the accelerator, and, well, you just go.
Exactly. You definitely do not expect to, open the hood and discover that the engine, as beautiful as it looks, isn't actually connected to the wheels.
Right, which is exactly why today I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
And alongside our expert here, we are tearing apart a massive, honestly, incredibly expensive reality that plays out like every single day in boardrooms across the country.
It really does.
We are looking at why so many major IT projects fail and how executives are basically bleeding money on tech that literally can't talk to itself.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
So welcome to this special deep dive. And to all the followers of the C9 podcast and business page tuning in right now, we are so thrilled to have you with us today.
Absolutely. And, if you are an Australian business owner or a C-level executive, this analysis is custom designed specifically for you.
It's meant to give you a strategic edge in a landscape that is, frankly, filled with very, very expensive pitfalls.
Oh, for sure.
Today, we are analyzing a highly revealing source document. It's called Precision Engineering, the C9 Guide to Integrated Digital Solutions.
Right. And our mission today is straightforward, but it's absolutely critical. We are going to uncover exactly why your major software investments might be turning into, massive money pits.
Yeah, the literal definition of a money pit.
Exactly. And more importantly, we are going to break down how to actually build digital systems that do what they are supposed to do, which is drive revenue and increase operational efficiency.
Yes.
So let's get right into the macro level problem facing you and your peers right now, because honestly, the numbers in this guide are, well, they're staggering.
They really are. Just to set the stage here, Australian IT spending is projected to hit an astronomical 172.3 billion Australian dollars in 2026.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack this. $172.3 billion.
That's a lot of money. It is. With that amount of capital flowing into technology, you would assume businesses in this country are running like, I don't know, perfectly oiled machines.
You would think so, yeah.
But the source material highlights this glaring, frankly terrifying contradiction.
Right.
Up to 75% of digital transformation projects in Australia and New Zealand fail to meet their original goals.
75%.
75%. It's like buying that luxury car we mentioned earlier, but 3 out of 4 times it just sits in your driveway leaking oil.
That is exactly what it's like.
I have to ask though, is the underlying technology genuinely just bad? Like, are these massive tech conglomerates just selling snake oil at this point?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's rarely that the underlying technology itself is inherently broken.
Okay.
Right. Like a generic CRM or an off-the-shelf database usually functions exactly as it was programmed to.
So what's the issue then?
The failure stems almost entirely from how it's implemented.
Ah, I see.
The source points to a fundamental flaw in the prevailing corporate mindset, which is this rip and replace approach.
Right, okay. Explain what you mean by rip and replace.
It's the idea that a business can just buy a massive one-size-fits-all enterprise software suite,
Yeah.
rip out all their old systems,
Right.
and just expect this shiny new box to magically solve all their unique operational problems.
Right.
But businesses aren't generic, so when executives buy off-the-shelf software, they're essentially trying to force their complex, highly specific business processes into a rigid, predefined box.
And when that box doesn't fit, what happens?
Yeah, that's when the budget blowouts begin.
Got it.
The guide actually points to the public sector as a very visible example of this exact failure.
Oh yeah, public sector IT projects are notorious for this.
Exactly. The Victorian government alone saw IT projects overrun by over 1.25 billion Australian dollars in a single decade.
1.25 billion over budget. That's insane.
We're talking about 40% of projects going over budget and 60% being delayed.
What?
And why? Because when the generic software doesn't fit, you start paying for endless clunky plugins.
Right, and consultants.
Yes, massive consulting fees just to try and force a square peg into a round hole.
Right, and the private sector is facing the exact same risks of scope creep. I mean, poor execution doesn't just waste your budget. It actively costs you your competitive edge while your competitors move faster.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the everyday tools that as an executive, probably interact with constantly.
Right.
We're moving from these terrifying billion-dollar failure statistics down to the granular level of daily operations.
Yeah, where people actually feel the pain.
Exactly. The guide outlines something it calls the good enough trap, specifically focusing on everyday solutions like chatbots and Microsoft Teams.
Right, and this is where those massive failure rates become highly visible to both your customers and your employees.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Australian chatbot market, for example.
Yeah.
It is just exploding.
Oh, they're everywhere.
They are. It's projected to grow from $238 million in 2025 to $1.5 billion by 2034.
That is a massive amount of money pouring into automated customer service.
It is.
But, everyone wants a chatbot, right? It's the shiny new toy, and it feels like a really quick win for customer engagement.
Exactly. Feels like a quick win.
But if my brand new chatbot can't actually pull historical customer data from my CRM, isn't that just like, I don't know, trying to run a restaurant where the waiters speak English, the kitchen speaks Italian, and there's basically no menu?
That is a perfect analogy. That is exactly it.
Yeah.
And that language barrier is the exact friction point we're talking about.
Right.
Most chatbot implementations disappoint because they completely lack deep integration. Imagine a customer trying to check the status of a complex order.
Okay.
The chatbot can say hello,
Sure.
and maybe you can answer some basic frequently asked questions. But because it relies on, cheap, limited APIs, it isn't integrated with your CRM or your booking system or your inventory databases.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. It hits a wall. It creates a complete customer dead end.
Which is incredibly frustrating as a consumer. You just end up, aggressively typing "speak to a human" into the chat window over and over again.
Exactly. Agent, agent, agent.
Yes.
And the business consequence of that is severe. When customers face those dead ends, they just switch to competitors.
Yeah, you lose
You damage loyalty, you lose sales. Choosing the wrong development partner or relying on a cheap, generic tool creates this cascade of larger problems.
Right.
The hard truth that you really have to face as a leader is that recovery, like fixing a broken system and trying to win back those frustrated customers, that costs far more in time, budget, and brand trust than simply doing it right the first time.
Honestly, that makes so much sense. And it's not just customer-facing tools that fall into this trap.
Yeah, not at all.
The guide brings up Microsoft Teams, which is fascinating to me because almost every corporate employee uses it daily. But the source argues it is highly underutilized. How can a tool we all use constantly be underutilized?
Well, most Australian organizations with Microsoft 365 use Teams for the absolute basics.
My chatting.
Right? Video calls and sharing files.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Wow, okay.
But they are missing out on custom apps, role-based dashboards, and automated workflows.
Okay, make that real for me. What does a role-based dashboard actually do in Teams that makes a tangible difference to my bottom line?
Okay, think about your managers. Right now, to approve an invoice, review a timesheet, or check inventory, they probably have to leave Teams, log into 3 separate, totally disconnected software platforms, hunt for the data, and then jump back into Teams to message their staff.
Oh, yeah, that constant context switching. It's exhausting.
It's incredibly inefficient.
Yeah.
But a custom integrated role-based dashboard pulls all that actionable data directly into the Teams environment.
Really?
Yes. They can approve an invoice with one click without ever leaving the chat window.
That's huge.
It is. In a hybrid working environment, leaving those integrations on the table is basically leaving thousands of hours of productivity and money just sitting on the table.
So if generic bots are just frustrating our customers and out-of-the-box software is forcing our employees to do all this administrative gymnastics,
Right.
what's the alternative? How are successful companies actually mapping this data correctly?
Well, the source provides concrete high-stakes proof here.
Okay.
They use case studies from a company called C9.
Right, C9.
Yes. They have over 18 years of experience. They're a local Brisbane-based team, and they focus purely on custom integrated development to stop these exact IT budget blowouts.
I love that.
This is where we see the integration-first principle actually in action. Let's look at Monash Health, for example.
Okay.
They're one of Australia's largest hospital networks, and they desperately needed a robust triaging system for patient referrals.
And the stakes there are literally life and death. You absolutely cannot have a 75% failure rate in a hospital triage system.
You can't. You really can't. And what's incredibly revealing here is that a previous developer had actually failed to deliver this system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The hospital environment was highly regulated, extremely high volume, with very sensitive clinical timelines.
Sure.
C9 came in, fully redusted the project from the ground up, and built something called the AutoScribe Triage Manager.
Okay.
They implemented direct HL7 integration and secure fax handling.
Wait, hold on. HL7 integration, for those of us who, aren't building hospital software, what actually makes that so incredibly difficult to pull off?
Right. So imagine every piece of medical equipment,
Yeah.
every lab, and every hospital ward speaks a slightly different regional dialect.
Okay.
HL7 is supposed to be the universal translator for clinical data,
I see.
but off-the-shelf software often misinterprets those dialects.
Well, that sounds dangerous.
It is, because if a generic system drops a data packet or mistranslates the code, a critical patient file literally gets dropped into the void. Yeah. C9 built a custom system that natively handled those exact dialects safely. And that resulted in a live, reliable system that drove faster specialist assignments without any data drops.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
When you look at the sheer diversity of these case studies, it's wild. You go from a hospital triage system handling life or death patient data to, well, the guide mentions the SES next, the State Emergency Service.
Right. For the SES, you have highly trained emergency personnel. Right.
Right.
But instead of focusing entirely on logistics or, crisis operations, their system relied on manual timesheets and RDO tracking.
Oh, man.
You literally had people cross-referencing paper or totally disconnected spreadsheets during emergencies.
Which just sounds like a nightmare.
It was. So C9 transformed that into a custom real-time dashboard portal.
Which eliminates the human error margin completely and, I imagine, reduces hours of painful manual financial reporting down to literal seconds.
Exactly.
And then the guide highlights CSIRO Data 61, which is a major government research organization. They needed secure ticketing and the ability to manage massive file uploads like over 2 gigabytes.
Right.
Which standard off-the-shelf software just couldn't handle securely. So C9 delivered a custom .NET Core solution with AWS S3 chunking.
Which is just a brilliant technical solution to a very common problem.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second. A 2 gigabyte file really doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, people upload high-definition movies all the time. Why couldn't an off-the-shelf enterprise software handle that securely?
Well, it comes down to security and stability protocols in highly classified environments.
Okay, how so?
If you try to upload a massive, highly sensitive 2 gigabyte file over a standard secure connection and the network blips for just 1 microsecond, the entire transfer fails.
Oh, and you have to start over.
You have to start all over again.
Yeah?
Chunking solves this. Think of it like breaking that massive file into thousands of tiny encrypted puzzle pieces.
Okay, I'm with you.
If the connection drops, the system only has to resend the one specific tiny puzzle piece that failed, not the whole file.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. Off-the-shelf solutions simply couldn't handle the puzzle, so C9 built a system that could.
That is brilliant. And then you pivot from government research straight into, of all things, agriculture.
Yeah, Webster Limited.
Webster Limited, a major Southern Hemisphere exporter of walnuts and onions. They had completely outgrown their legacy systems and needed an end-to-end, national-scale processing platform just to handle complex export compliance.
Exactly. Walnuts, onions, hospital patients, emergency personnel, and government data.
It's such a wild mix. It seems incredibly disconnected at first glance.
It does.
But the common denominator here isn't the industry. The common denominator is the absolute necessity for complex custom integration.
What's fascinating here is how all these success stories synthesize a single, unified approach to software.
Right.
Whether it's the SES automating timesheets or a logistics company like the Bonnie Group needing multi-entity tech stack support.
Okay, let's pause on the Bonnie Group for a second. Multi-entity tech stack support. What does that actually mean in plain English for the business owners listening right now?
Sure. It means when a company grows and acquires other businesses, they inherit this Frankenstein's monster of software.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right? They suddenly own 3 different accounting platforms, 4 different HR portals, and conflicting inventory systems.
Total chaos.
Total chaos. And an off-the-shelf solution can't magically merge those. So C9 builds custom architecture that allows all those different entities to actually talk to one central hub.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
And across all these diverse examples, C9 provides 3 core elements that essentially guarantee success over failure.
Okay, let's break those 3 elements down. What are they?
First, visible agile delivery.
Meaning?
Meaning this isn't a traditional black box IT project where you write a massive check, cross your fingers, and just hope for the best a year later.
Right, the classic IT nightmare.
Exactly. With Agile, you see working iterations of your software early and often, and that gives you absolute control and confidence.
Okay, that's one. What's two?
Second is the ability to handle true data complexity. So the specific formats, the scale, security, and compliance unique to your business.
Like we saw with the HL7 hospital data and the chunking.
Exactly. And third is long-term managed service partnerships.
Why is that so crucial?
Because a system must evolve alongside your business. Otherwise, it becomes obsolete the day it launches.
That makes a lot of sense. But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Building a custom platform from scratch sounds infinitely more expensive and risky than just, buying a standard Microsoft or Salesforce license.
Right.
How does a custom build actually mitigate risk and save money?
It's a great question. It sounds riskier until you look at the true total cost of ownership.
Okay.
With off-the-shelf software, you are paying heavy recurring licensing fees for dozens of features you will literally never use. Then you are paying a fortune in ongoing consulting fees to build fragile, temporary bridges between your disconnected systems.
Like those plugins we talked about?
Yes. When you build custom, you only build exactly what you need. There is no bloatware.
Right.
And because the system is designed specifically for your compliance requirements, like Australian privacy and healthcare standards, the risk of a massive regulatory failure is mitigated from the ground up. It's not just slapped on as an afterthought.
Right, right. So what does this all mean for the listener? How do we translate these operational wins into the language of the C-suite? Because as a business owner or an executive tuning in, you are thinking about ROI, right? You're thinking about risk mitigation. You're thinking about scaling your operations seamlessly.
Absolutely.
I really want to challenge you, the listener, to think about your own tech stack right now. Are your current tools actually making your employees faster, or are they just creating more administrative busy work?
That is the defining question every leader needs to ask. Custom solutions deliver massive, measurable advantages. We are talking about true efficiency gains through automation, literally freeing up your human capital to do high-level work instead of manual data entry.
Right.
And we are talking about hard cost reduction because you avoid perpetual license waste and massive project overruns.
And we absolutely cannot ignore the AI factor in all of this either.
Oh, definitely not.
The guide notes that over 64% of small and medium businesses are now using AI regularly in some capacity.
It is everywhere.
But if your internal systems don't talk to each other, AI is pretty useless, isn't it?
This raises an urgent question about the future viability of your business. Having integrated custom tools is what actually amplifies the power of new technologies like AI.
Right.
AI is incredibly powerful, but it requires data to function. Think of AI as a high-performance engine and data integration as the fuel line.
Oh, I like that.
If your customer data is siloed in a cheap chatbot that can't talk to your CRM, the AI is effectively blindfolded.
I can't see anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can't analyze the customer journey or offer any predictive insights.
It just becomes a really expensive toy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In today's highly competitive landscape, an integrated system isn't a luxury. It is the absolute baseline for survival.
Right.
Off-the-shelf solutions violently force your business to adapt its successful, hard-won operations to accommodate the limitations of the software.
Which is backwards.
Totally backwards. But custom solutions from a partner like C9 force the software to adapt to your specific business operations.
That is a massive paradigm shift. You really shouldn't be changing your successful business processes just because your generic software doesn't have a button for it.
No, you shouldn't.
The through line in all these case studies is a complete rejection of that good enough trap. It shows that taking an integration-first approach isn't just, an IT preference. It is a fundamental business strategy.
Absolutely.
When it comes to technology, Australian executives need to choose verifiable proof over empty promises. You need systems that actually connect the engine to the wheels.
Exactly. You need precision engineering built for your specific vehicle.
So if you are tired of the good enough trap and you are ready to build digital systems that actually drive your business forward without the bloated hidden costs, you really need to look at C9.
Yes.
Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
I highly urge you to stop struggling with generic, disconnected tools that just cause your team friction.
Right.
Visit www.c9.com.au.
Yeah.
That's www.c9.com/.ou. You can get a free, no-obligation consultation to discuss your business goals honestly and see what true, seamless integration looks like for your specific operations.
And before you go, please remember to click that follow button. Share this deep dive with other Australian business leaders, partners, or colleagues who are tired of IT budget blowouts and could really benefit from this knowledge.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today.
Mm.
If 75% of digital projects fail to hit their goals, what hidden friction is your current software masking today?
Wow.
And what would your company's revenue actually look like tomorrow if all your systems talk to each other perfectly?
That's a great question. It's time to make sure that when you press the accelerator, you actually move forward. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.